Dan said, my name is Laura Arredondo-Santisteban, and I'm an associate at Venable in the Advertising and Marketing Group. And recently, we've begun to receive a fair amount of inquiries from clients asking us to assist them with reviewing their foreign language advertising, specifically their Spanish language ads. So in light of this, and as one of the attorneys currently tasked with reviewing these ads, we thought it might be helpful to just go over a couple of tips to keep in mind when advertising in a foreign language. And throughout the presentation, I'll generally speak in terms of Spanish language ads just because they make up the majority of our ad reviews, but I think that a lot of these tips can be generally applied to any foreign language advertisement. So with that, as Dan noted, online translators are not always your friends. I really like online translators. I think that they're really helpful, but I caution against completely relying on them to translate long sentences, slogans, maybe material disclosures or claims, because sometimes certain phrases can't be translated word for word literally and retain their same meaning. One word can make a really big difference. When I was preparing for this presentation, I ran across this story about this company that was selling t-shirts after the Pope had come and visited the US. And they wanted to say, I saw the Pope in Spanish. And instead of saying el Papa, the Pope, they said la papa, the potato. So we really recommend that you have somebody that's just comfortable with the language to just review everything. And it's not even just small companies like that. There have been other companies that have also run across these issues. CocaCola, for one, when it debuted its product in China, wanted to translate its name phonetically, but what it didn't check was that Coca-Cola, I guess in Chinese phonetically, is translated as bite the wax tadpole. And similarly, Pepsi also had the same issue. So trying to say Pepsi brings back to life, a little bit chilling. And the same goes for the Jolly Green Giant, was intimidating green monster in Arabic. And then this airlines wanted to tout its leather seats and translated fly in leather in Spanish, but what it didn't realize, what it sounded a lot like the Spanish slang, fly naked. So there might have been some disappointed customers. And just tip number 2 to keep in mind, when you are engaging in a marketing strategy in the US and you want to translate that into another language, just to do your research. There was this company that wanted to market its diapers in Japan, and they had this really cute label with a stork on it, and it just wasn't selling very well in Japan, and they realized that the stork just confused a lot of customers over there, because apparently in Japan the folklore is that parents receive their children in giant peaches that flow down rivers and streams. So people were really confused as to why there was a bird on the diaper packet to begin with. And I think in general this tip is particularly true in the US when you're marketing to the Hispanic and Latino community. This is a community that's very diverse and is comprised of a lot of different cultures and subgroups. So sometimes an ad may not resonate as well with younger generations who are used to consuming their content in English now versus older ones that consume still the majority of it in Spanish. And just a helpful tip, a lot of the times when marketing television ads or radio spots, it's best to use somebody with a neutral accent in Spanish, because Spanish-speaking companies or countries you have a lot of accents, they have different dialects, so a lot of the times these countries use different words to mean the same thing, and so it's best to use somebody with a neutral accent and just that is familiar with the generally accepted term for a lot of things. And tip number 3, this one's pretty self-explanatory, but any claim made in a foreign language must still comply with all the state and federal laws. Another important takeaway that I think is good to keep in mind is that if you're giving an ad or a sales pitch in a foreign language and you provide the consumer with underlying contracts or documents, it's always good to have any material disclosures given in that language as well. It could be found as deceptive to then give those disclosures in English or in the language that was not used in the sales pitch. And as noted earlier, the FTC is still paying attention, even if the language being used in the ad is not English. The FTC, and as the state AGs pointed out earlier, they are taking a look at marketers that are using foreign languages, particularly Spanish, to market their products to Spanish-speaking consumers or consumers that primarily speak a different language. In 2012, the FTC and the Florida Attorney General actually obtained a consent order against defendants who used Spanish TV and radio ads to market what was found to be a deceptive prize promotion. And actually, the FTC has translated over 100 of its documents or publications into Spanish and has its own website that is just ftc.gov/Espanol. And you can see kind of in the right-hand column under Tome Acción, the first action item is asking consumers to submit a complaint to the FTC in Spanish. So they are soliciting complaints from consumers in Spanish as well. And then the counterpart and the last tip that I have are that states also have their own laws and are regulating this area as well. Particularly states, a lot of the laws that I came across when I was preparing for this deal in the home solicitation and telemarketing area, where sales presentations are often made to consumers in Spanish or a different language, and these laws require the marketer to present the client or the consumer with the contracts and the agreements in the language that was made in the sales presentation. And a lot of these states might also have different laws depending on the type of product being marketed, like mortgage products or consumer credit products. And that's it.